So we'll see how Callum Conway performs. Sean, who would you be looking for to be turning on in this race? It's quite open, isn't it?
Yeah, again, this is a similar race that we had with Richard Jute, although he went and proved us wrong by pretty much dominating his race. But, you know, Callum Conway looked very quick in practice. Chris Daines, can never rule him out, really. He can jump into anything and be near the front. Jamie Harrison, I don't believe, is going to make the start. As you can see, they're moving them back in the pit lane right now to take out the kart that Jamie would have drawn. No, I reckon Pete, Chris, and Callum Conway are the three. I can't choose between us three. What about you, James?
Well, on the basis that you've gone down half the grid as potential winners there, I think that that does say it all, really, Sean. It's a tough one to call. The fact is that there's no clear winner coming forward. There's no established star in this. However, like we've said in the other races, everybody in this race has got credentials and why they're here. It's probably a good time for somebody with known credentials in other form of karting, like Chris Daines, to come forward without the absolute nasties in there. He could be in the same heat as Stefan Verhofstadt. He could be in the same heat as Ruben Boutens, but he's not. He's kind of got out of it a little bit, so he can do sort of, shall we say, his learning in the in transferring from another form of karting. He can do his learning in a heat where the names aren't there. So they might have the speed, but at least he's not going to be outpsyched by some of the entries that he's up against. It's going to become apparent in qualifying. I think we may yet have a close one, because whenever we see a heat race where there aren't any of the absolute established international stars in it, it often means we actually have a tight grid.
Yeah, and that's proven right today. You know, Bjorn, and he was chased down by Regis, so again, not really any of the Brits managing to shine through just yet, aside from Bradley, but again, he was up against another Brit, myself, I was up against Kim Ensign, another Brit. I'm really looking forward to my next heat, so I'm facing up against Matt Barsh, Bjorn Vermeulen, Sander Debates. It should be very interesting. I'm
looking forward to commentating on that, Sean, and you're really going to have to drive yourself off on that one, aren't you? The interesting thing here is they're coming through now to complete their laps, as and we've got a 33.0 on pole, you know, so far, and that's Patrick Neroda. Patrick Neroda has that's a fast run, that 33.0 for pole position. Chris Daines has come through in second, former Super 1 kart racer, obviously outdoor, but he's obviously transferred that well. Pete Lepin has come in third place, Owen Burton in fourth. So I think we're going to see an interesting run. The son in the father and son element of the Ensinger chaps is Sam, and he's come through in seventh place. He's just pushed out Mark Jaggard, Derek Jones. Mid-pack, obviously behind Pete Lepin, who I mentioned was third, Owen Burton fourth, Callum Conway in fifth, Kieran Gallagher in sixth. So we'll see how this one does work out. There's Chris Daines, who's on the right of the screen there. Chris Daines, former Super 1 kart racer. He's the current Cov Kart Sport champion. That should line him up well for making a decent conversion across to this, shouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I was just looking at the screen. On the screen, you can see Chris and Pete talking to each other. Those two have raced together before. They raced together for a long time. EKL, anything else you want to mention? They're smart, and they know that Patrick, that was an amazing lap, but they know they have to work together and not fight if they've got any chance of catching him. That's a quick start.
Yeah, Neroda's sort of pulled away a bit there, but do you think the guys behind him have that was a little bit of team play going on? Do you think they're thinking, look, let's get this guy ahead, then we'll fight it, or do you think they were just casually waving at each other?
No, I think it was more of a let's go do this together. Chris is now looking down the inside. He's going to make a move down into the section. Oh, not quite.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question is, Chris is the man on point when it comes to tackling Neroda, the leader. There we come down the backstretch. Neroda's got a good lead, but there's Chris Daines and Pete Lepin. Now, the question really is, how patient is Pete Lepin going to be? Because he's going to want Chris Daines to get on and do something about Neroda straight away. If he keeps, having to pull out of moves and losing time, Lepin's going to be pretty low on patience with him, isn't he?
Yeah, and I know Pete from record. He does like to make overtaking moves as quick as he can. I think Chris knows that, and that's why he asked him to help out. Now he might feel bad, but those top three, well, the top five are definitely breaking away. All the ones we mentioned, plus Patrick, who is really just had a great start. He's pulled out just enough to give himself a bit of breathing room.
Absolutely, a bit of a battle going on the end there, but Patrick Neroda, he's got just over a kart length lead over Chris Danes, with Pete Lepan following him into the Snell section. Here comes Niroda now. There's Niroda in the Snell section. Danes and Lepan and the rest. Really quite a tight one for the top 5, I believe. Yes, looking at it, it's a top 5 breakaway at the moment. That's Owen Burton and Callum Conway in 4th and 5th place. So here we go. It's Niroda, Danes and Lepan. And there's Burton and Conway behind. So Callum Conway hanging on there in 5th place. Increasing his lead, though, is Patrick Niroda. He's really desperate to get away from this one. Chris Danes, and in the pits already, we've got the number 21. The 21 is Callum Conway. Callum Conway making an early pit stop there. That's his strategy to try and get this pit stop done. He's hopping about in the seat. He's pulling back out onto the track. He resumes in 9th place, and it'll be interesting to see just where he comes in with the others. Clearly, a driver taking an early pit stop like that feels he's faster than those ahead. So Callum Conway may well be onto something about his speed. Obviously feeling held up a bit maybe in 5th place. He was trying to chase down Owen Burton and right on his case doing so. Sean, we've got Patrick Niroda pulling away lead. Here comes Patrick now into the Snell section, turning in there from Chris Danes and Pete Lepan, and then of course Owen Burton. Niroda's showing good form.
Yeah, and he looks to have checked out just a little bit, which and actually I have a funny feeling he could do a Vahos here, and I have a funny feeling that the battle for second, once you get Conway back into it after pit stops have rolled out, could turn out to be something quality. Not heard much about Owen Burton. We had dinner last night with a group of us in preparation for the event. Met him for the first time, nice chap, but don't know much about his racing. But this is a really good showing to keep on the back of Pete Lepan and Chris Danes. There's another one in the pits, James.
Absolutely, it's the 12 kart. It's Samuel Ensinger, Sam Ensinger, and the junior of the father and son team of the Ensinger boys. We saw John Ensinger coming in 8th place, I believe, in the previous race. Sam has now put himself back to 9th by dint of that pit stop. But anyway, we'll see where he cycles back in. He's going to come out last because he's one of only 2 drivers that have pitted. So, in the meantime, we've got Patrick Niroda, who's up in the lead, increasing that lead. We can see on the screen there. In the pits, though, we've got the number 9 kart, and that is Kieran Gallagher. Kieran Gallagher pitting out of 5th place. Question is, how much time will he lose? I think he's lost quite a bit already. And also in the pits is the 17. 17 is Derek Jones. Derek Jones in the number 17 kart. He's actually just coming into the second part there of the pit lane. He's heading back out on his way. He's now going to resume in 9th place. So just on the positions at the moment, Sean, we've got Patrick Niroda, we've got Chris Danes 2nd place, we've got Pete Lepan 3rd, Owen Burton 4th, Mark Jaggard 5th, Callum Conway is in 6th place, so Sam Ensinger 7th, Kieran Gallagher 8th, Derek Jones 9th. Obviously those guys in the lower half of the field there, they've all made the pit stops and they're already, I believe, getting passed by the leaders.
Yeah, well, I don't really know what to say about that. They have been a little bit scrappy here as Mark Jaggard is having a little battle with Callum Conway. Callum Conway nips by easy enough, and actually I believe that was for position, so he didn't actually have to get out of the way there.
No, sometimes I think it's quite difficult for people to work out whether they're passed or whatever, especially when there's quite a group and there's blue flags flying. Anyway, we'll see how that one pans out. Patrick Niroda, though, I think his stop's going to be the key one. The 10 kart is in. That is Mark Jaggard. Mark Jaggard's in the pit lane now. There he is on screen. So Jaggard, whoa, gosh, he's had to bring it to a stop there, hasn't he, Sean, to take the green light? I'm assuming the smart move would be to try and keep some movement.
Yeah, we watched Matt Barsh do it earlier, and his stop was very quick, but he never fully came to a stop. He braked heavily and slowed down, but then lifted off and let the kart roll, where if you come to a complete stop, it just takes too long for it to pick up. So the idea is to keep it rolling. I'm
sure Barsh would argue this, but I remember him taking that stop, and quite frankly, it looked like he was about to get a penalty and somehow just avoided it. Either great anticipation and guesswork, or got a little bit lucky, or perhaps a bit mixture of the two. But Matt Barsh, he is one of the finest indoor karters in the world at the moment. Not the sort of mistake you'd expect someone of that nature to make, but he certainly chopped it nice and fine, didn't he?
Oh yeah, and that's kind of set the stage. More people have watched that. They've realised that they're picking up on how the quick guy's going around. And it's not just there, it's around the rest of the track. Everyone's keeping a close eye, and you can't see the stands here, but we have a fair crowd, and you can't... when you watch the quick guys racing and you start to slowly pick it up, then you become the quick guys and then people copy you, and it's just this constant cycle until everyone just gets incredibly quick and very, very even. Obviously, as Chris Danes is not quite going to make it round Mark Jaggard. It's been held up there. There's a little bit of bumping.
Yeah, Jaggard very sideways coming off. We saw on screen there, coming off the final turn. Chris Danes, has he got a run on him, or what's really gone on there? They've made it through against Jaggard, yes, because Jaggard lost an awful lot of momentum there. The thing with the rental karting and the indoor particularly, it's almost a case, Sean, it always strikes me, as in the times I've been competing, we've all competed at international level. The further up you get, the more apparent it becomes. But the nature of it isn't so much as how fast you make it go as minimising speed loss, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's it. I mean, most time anyone can slam the throttle fully down, but it's about the braking through the corner and controlling the speed when you're not flat out is where the difference in times come between all of the drivers. Just looking back at this battle for second now. So where is Callum Conway exactly on track? Look at how far behind he's dropped off.
He's in the 21 kart. We'll find him on screen. We'll just keep
I was just looking at the times, James. I think he's dropped off a little bit. I think he's now probably going to come... When Owen Burton pits, he'll definitely come up behind him. So he's going to run in a net fifth, which means the battle for second really is looking between Chris Danes, Pete Lepan, and to an extent Owen Burton if he can nail his pit stop. Yes, potential dark horse in this one is going to be Owen Burton. He's there in fourth place at the moment. Pete Lepan, Chris Danes, Patrick Neroda, we know what they can do. Owen Burton, of course, he was the one who was the team sport runner-up. You know, all their drivers compete in the various team sport tracks. The best ones go forward for a big shootout. And in that shootout, Owen Burton came in second place. So, although he's not really a driver we know too much about, he may well spring a surprise here. And on paper, he's got the credentials to do just that. Yeah, the person who knows him best is Jamie Henderson. So if we can get him into the box over here and have a word about his friend, then that would give us some good insight. But it's Patrick Neroda, another fastest lap of the race, 32.778. Now really starting to stretch his legs, 4.3 seconds. James, do you think he can be caught?
Patrick Neroda's really laying down those lap times now. He's at ballistic pace. I think right now, I know the conditions gradually improve, but right now, is he not second fastest for the day only to Stefan Verhofstadt? In which case, that's going to be a man who's going to take some catching.
Well, but 2/10 off, and there's nothing to take away from that. But I do know that a couple of people, Ruben definitely put in a 6 earlier on in the day.
Absolutely.
But the fact that we're now comparing Patrick Neroda up to Ruben Boot and Stefan Verhofstadt for the first round performances, I mean, can't take anything away.
He's leading the race with nearly a 5-second gap. So I actually think the only way he can be caught is a blunder of his own. It's going to come down to the pit stops where he cycles out. It's going to come down to not bumping into things. Really, he's just going to have to keep his head down and get the job done. He's going to be waiting for the checker now, isn't he? Although he's got an awful lot of waiting to do because there's 10 minutes left to run. But he's done everything he needs to do. He's set himself up nicely. He's got a decent lead. Chris Danes is doing great, but Patrick Neroda's just right on it.
Yeah, Chris Danes is setting in some good lap times, but I mean the last lap was still half a second off Patrick. He's just pulling out at a crazy length now as he goes and sets what was 9 thousandths off the quickest lap. He's just nailing them in lap after lap. Pete Lepan has stayed 8 tenths of Chris Danes since the start of this race. Owen Burton is now starting to drop off a little, but those two are definitely in a fight. If Pete can find a little bit more speed, and those two, it will come down to the pit stop.
Absolutely, and slightly further down the order, we've got Callum Conway still running there in 5th place. We've got Sam Ensinger in 6th, Kieran Gallagher 7th, Mark Jaggard 8th, and Derek Jones 9th. It's quite a good showing, actually, from Sam Ensinger, really, in this race. He's running 6th at the moment, Sean. I'm not sure about getting in the top 5, but I think he's doing all right. He's been sort of moving up and down. He was an early pitter and has come back through from last.
Yeah, he's... I think he's just a little bit too far off Callum, and Callum, in his own right, is a little bit too far off the others now. And I don't believe that anyone is too... who's that in number 9? Is that following... Kieran Gallagher's following around. Actually, Sam Ensinger is going to be looking behind him instead of ahead, as we see as he crosses the line, looking behind him, trying to find out where Kieran is. Absolutely,
and in terms of lap time, we've got Sam Ensinger at 33.661. Kieran Gallagher's just cracked in 33.4, so he is actually at the rate of 0.2 of a second a lap, closing down on the younger Ensinger. So I think Sam Ensinger may need to be doing a bit of rearguard action here.
Well, I think what's going to help is that Patrick Neroda, the race leader, is now coming up onto the back of those two, so Kieran's going to be given a blue flag this time by.
Absolutely, and that's going to help Sam Ensinger. He's already looking over his shoulder. They're in the Snell section now, and that's Ensinger up the lead. And, well, good grief, Kieran Gallagher's fighting with him, but Niroda's fighting with a pair of them to get through. What's going to happen here? Kieran's got them. He has he? Yes, he has. And Niroda's going with Kieran Gallagher. He's had to pick the quicker driver, which at that instant, down the backstretch now, here comes Niroda to take the pair of them. Look at Sam Ensinger! Contact with, he's waving his hand, he's acknowledging the fault, but, well, he's resumed behind Kieran Gallagher. So, unfortunately for Sam Ensinger, he's the big loser-outer in that, what really is a lapping situation, isn't it?
Yeah, but I don't believe that actually the lapping caused the problem, James. It looked like Sam Ensinger just got a poor turn into the right-hander of the Snell, and on the left-hander there was a cutback, and he was actually by before the blue flags came out.
Right, that's interesting because, so basically, Niroda made his own move regardless of blue flags because of Ensinger's error. Of course, Gallagher saw that and went for the same gap, and then Ensinger tried to come back at him at the end of the straight, and it's now ended up a situation with Gallagher ahead of Ensinger, which is great if you're Kieran Gallagher, not so good if you're Sam Ensinger.
No, not really. And how far behind is he now? Where are they on track?
There's about a couple of kart lengths in it. It's a little bit of a gap more than what they had. But here it is on screen now. They're coming on the back stretch. So here's Niroda, the leader, but there is Kieran Gallagher, and there is Sam Ensinger following. So that's the gap there. Not too much, is it? About 2 kart lengths, I would say.
Yeah, nothing really there. It's just looking back at Chris Daines and Pete Lepan, still 8 tenths. They are matching each other lap for lap. One gains a tenth out, the other will pull it away in the next lap.
Absolutely, they're both sat on 33.0 as a lap time. It's quite some way off Patrick Niroda's time of 32.6, but in terms of their own battle, they are pretty much cancelling each other out.
So what other battles have we got going down as Niroda actually goes and sets a 32.6, now really starting to stretch his legs. He looks very happy out there. He's got not a care in the world at the moment. 6.7 seconds to Daines, who's, again, just 8 tenths back to Pete Lepan. Owen Burton has now dropped off, I think. He's been losing a couple of tenths of lap. We have someone in the pits now. Who is this?
Yes, we have.
This is Pete Lepan.
It's the 15. It is Lepan. Yes, Lepan pitting out of 3rd place. So now, given how close he is on lap times with the person who's competing with Chris Daines, that puts extra emphasis on a good pit stop lap, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and if Chris was a smart man here, he'd pit. He can't catch the guy ahead. He's only going to try and block off Pete Lepan. So I'm expecting a pit from Chris this lap if he realises that Pete's actually pitted.
Okay, Chris is on camera now. He's waved. I think he's coming in the pits this time. Chris is on camera. Yes, he is. He's in the pit lane. This is the 2nd place. Chris Daines. There he is. That's Chris Daines. He's made a good stop. God, green light seems to take forever to come on. It's the same for everyone, but when you're waiting, it seems a long time.
Oh, it does indeed. Now Chris is coming out of pits, and I think he's going to jump him quite clearly, but he should have a run. So he's going to be... This is the closest Pete's been. I think that was a good stop from Chris, but this is now the closest Pete's been. These two now know that they're in a battle just with each other. They don't care about anyone else. They've got to be careful. There's 5 minutes left, and Owen Burton wasn't that far behind, and he's yet to pit still.
Absolutely. Here they are on screen. And it's Daines leading Lepan, just going out of picture now. They're coming on the back straight. Here's Chris Daines, here's Pete Lepan. Lepan surely has a bit of mental momentum, having stopped earlier on and running a little bit wide as Daines. There's less than a kart length. There's Lepan working on the back of Daines. There's another kart in the pits. It's the 16. That will be Owen Burton. Owen Burton has pitted out 2nd. Resumes in 4th. He's not going to be near enough to challenge what is now 2nd place. But there they are on screen in the Snail section there. It's Chris Daines, a Super 1 kart racer and Super 1 kart winner. That's the highest form of owner-driver karting you really get in this country. Now he's switching to the indoor variety. He's showing up just as well. He's looking really good. He's fighting with Pete Lepan, which is no mean task. Then the Niroda's just pitted and come back out with a massive lead, Sean. A bit of a Stefan Verhofstadt style run by Patrick Niroda. Yeah,
and once again, the non-Brits, they're coming over and they're just demonstrating what they're really capable of on a foreign track, let alone what they can do on their own track. But Pete Lepan is now going to go down. I think Owen Burton's lost out a lot in the pits there. He was only 2.5 seconds behind Pete Lepan, and now we're looking at a 4 or 5 second gap maybe. But Pete has again dropped off. He's shaking his head. He's made a little bit of a mistake. He can still get back in at Chris, but Chris is not really one to be intimidated by someone following closely.
Absolutely. Looking very confident out there, Chris Daines. He's made the switch from outdoor to indoor karting. It's a new type of competition for him, but he's showing very well. A good marker against Pete Lepan. Pete Lepan getting very experienced at this kind of thing now. He knows what to expect from BRKC, and he's making Chris Daines really work for it. It's a good debut from Chris Daines, and we'll look forward to see what he does the rest of the programme.
Absolutely. I mean, I've got to race him in my third heat, so ultimately I'm getting a little bit more concerned watching how quickly he's going. But a little bit further down the field, that number 9, number 12 battle that we were talking about earlier, which is Kieran Gallagher and Samuel Ensinger. Sam Ensinger has caught right back up onto the tail of Kieran Gallagher. That'll be worth watching when we start to roll out the final results.
Well, I'm sure Sam Ensinger won't have liked the way he lost the position, so he'll be very keen to get it back. He's all over the back now, Kieran Gallagher. They're starting the another lap. There they are, going across the line now. It's Gallagher who's in the black suit up ahead of Sam Ensinger. Here in the style section, there's Gallagher, there's Ensinger in the blue and grey. And Ensinger now really working hard. They've got Patrick Neroda coming up on them, and this is how Ensinger lost it last time, isn't it? However, roles reversed. They've got Neroda coming up to put them a lap down, but this time Ensinger may be the one who can benefit.
Yeah, exactly. Last time it was Gallagher behind Ensinger, and this is close. I thought he was going to make a move down to the final corner. Just looking back now, I think Chris Daines has managed to pull out just a tiny bit of a gap back to that 8/10 we were at before, and suddenly doesn't seem to be under too much threat from Pete. I think Pete made a couple of mistakes there.
Yeah, the second place battle of Daines versus Le Pen, they're both running comfortably just inside the 32 seconds. Now we've got well, let's see what's going on there. It's sorry, I was looking at different cars. I thought it was Sam Ensinger. I was looking out the window there. Here we have Patrick Neroda, who is actually closing in on the Ensinger, and Ensinger lets him through. So Ensinger, he's actually given away a bit too much time there. I think he was over generous there to Neroda. He ran wide on a relatively time-losing part of the track.
Yeah, that wasn't a smart place to go, because he's put himself on the outside when he had to be on the complete other side to let him through. Ultimately, he could have waited. He hadn't received the blue flag. He could have waited, got it down in the snell, done it same as Svangin did last time. When Svangin showed exactly how to allow someone through without losing too much time.
Absolutely. A question of just showing inexperience really there from Sam Ensinger. It's a shame for him because he's been sort of on the losing end every time Neroda's come through. Neroda is actually working all over the back of Kieran Gallagher, but Sam Ensinger, as we can see, here we go. There's Neroda just taken, who is it? Gosh, Gallagher, and that's the gap then to Ensinger. So here we go. There's Neroda, and there's Gallagher, and there's Ensinger. So actually, I think with one and a bit minutes, it's too late for Ensinger to close back up, isn't it?
Yeah, that gap's too far. He'd already lost 3 seconds just by letting Patrick through. Very nice keeping out of the way, but he's ruined his own race, and Patrick really wasn't near anyone. But equally, Sam wasn't to know that. Bit of a battle further down. 17 makes a move on 20, on number 10 into the snell, raises his hand.
Yeah, that's for last place.
Yeah, clattering into Mark Jagger. Just fighting all the way through here. And he's going to be given the blue flag now, and unfortunately that's the last chance he'll get at Mark Jagged. Pete Le Pen, again, about 8/10 off. He seems to be able to just sit there and follow, but is not able to push Chris, and Chris has driven a very calm and controlled race here.
Absolutely. Derek Jones just waving his arm there, showing some fiery action, but waving his arm to wave Patrick Neroda through to put him a lap down. Mark Jaggard, of course, is running ahead of Derek Jones, which we saw the action was. And at the top end there, it's getting pretty racy through the snell section. We'll see them coming out of here. I think we're looking at Neroda there, aren't we? Yeah, absolutely. And Jaggard and Jones. Was that Jones waving another kart through? He seemed to put his hand down to wave. I would assume that would be Gallagher, is it? Yep. And Gallagher, and of course there's the gap to Sam Ensinger, the Gallagher-Ensinger battle we've been watching. There's Jones on TV, Derek Jones there, and Derek Jones, a member of the Vodafone karting team. He was down the order. He's just trying to avoid being last. The checker flag's out. Easy win there for Patrick Neroda. The real battle from the front point of view was Daines versus Le Pen. Owen Burton running in 4th, Conway in 5th, Kieran Gallagher in 6th, Sam Ensinger 7th, Mark Jaggard 8th, and Derek Jones bring at the rear in 9th. Quite an interesting little race that, Sean, in a way, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think once Patrick had checked out, Chris wasn't able to make a move early on, backed off, and then neither of those two really had the pace of Patrick at any stage during that. Aside from the first lap, no, they didn't have anything to do with that. As Patrick actually pulls off to the side there, instead of lining back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Chris Daines for me, Patrick, that was a really solid drive, but I feel like Chris Daines might be my driver there just because he was never threatened by someone who was sat half a second behind him for 20 minutes.
Yeah, he was made to work for that second place by Pete Lepan, both from a pit stop and point of view. You know, they both had to get it right, didn't they? They were too close for anyone to blow it. So, yeah, I'd have to say my driver of the race in this case would be Neroda. I know he won, but he didn't have to win as dominantly as he did. It's almost like a bit, you know, what I was saying about Stefan Hofter. He's as a racer, you're always going to want to try and win as best you can, aren't you? But that almost was like a practice run against some of the other stars later on by Patrick Neroda. He needed to sort of just prove to himself almost he can do it to that